today is goals. And we're going to be talking about the cycle that keeps you going. And what do I mean by that? Well, we'll get into it. I'll get into a little bit of my life story and give an example. I'll give you my hot tip at the end and go over some key points here that I made some notes. I've got my Sprite with me. I've got my vape and my marijuana. For those who, I'm sorry if that offends you, but I smoke marijuana and I have my license to do so. Oh yeah, get in the zone. Get in the zone. I've been a marijuana smoker all my life, basically. So, well, since like high school, but I'm much older than that. So I may not look like it, but I am close to 40 years old. Believe it or not, I'm close to 40 years old. So I got my notes with me. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lasso. For those who don't know, here at Lasso's Passions, where I do many things. So yeah, goals, and we're gonna be talking about that and how the importance of that. There's a few things that people use as a metric for success. I don't know if you ever heard of these called OKRs. Did I say that right? Yeah, OKRs. OKRs. Objective key results. You guys have heard about that? Objective key results. Well, that is the key there to goal setting. Is you ask yourself what it is you want out of life, your objectives, and you ask yourself how you're going to go about it. And you look at the results and you measure the results. That's very important to actually look back and see if what you're doing is effective. Now, the thing that's going to really drive you to get where you want to go, you have a vision and you need like the feel to get there. Well, it's your purpose. Your purpose is your driving force behind where you want to be, the vision and all that. What sort of purpose are you, ascribing to it? What is a thing? Are you making it personal? That's the thing. You got to make it very personal to really have a really driving purpose, a purpose that has, significance. It's and it feels, inspirational to you because behind it is your passion, your ambition, right? So combine your passion, your ambition, your chosen field, whatever it is, your vision, and then you designate a purpose that is so personal that's going to keep you going all the way to the end of the football field to make that score, or whatever it is, if you have that vision and you don't allow derailment to happen, you don't burn out, you're very careful about that. You have a community support. I talk about all these things in my other discussions. These are all components that basically makes you a high achiever in life, and I'm implementing these things into my own life as I do them. Yesterday we did one over organization, and right today, as I said I would to everybody, and I told everybody, look, I'm going to clean my camper. I did so. It feels amazing in here. It feels amazing in that room. I still have to clean that back room, figure that out, but I have a plan to a goal, a micro goal. So yeah, there's large goals and micro goals. And for me, if I want to make this personal, to me, it's very personal to make it in YouTube because it's the only place that I can really be creative and allow my creativity to really shine in a lot of ways. And it's all on me if I grow an audience or not. So that's the scary part, is it's all on me at the end of the day. It's a bit of a responsibility that goes into making sure you hit your micro goals. And not just that, the direction you're going, sometimes we're going the wrong direction and we don't even know. So there's a lot we can do day to day to figure out how we can make things better. And so that's what I'm working on, is I know I'm in a place, and that's why I'm organizing everything, because to get to my large goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, there's a lot of micro goals I'm hitting. with the content I'm putting out there, and the schedule and the organization and changing my life and adapting to this lifestyle of being a producer, writer, actor, and putting out content, and I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. Like I really want to do it right, but it's so hard to when you're starting out to know what is right, and it's not something I do on purpose to do it wrong. Like, so I started posting about Seinfeld because I really love Seinfeld. And so that might be a big no-no for a lot of folks, but look, I just love Seinfeld, and I love sharing it. I love working on it and editing like clips to put them together and watching the show over and over because I notice details. I can later go back and be like, oh, did you know this about the show? So there's three different things I want to do with the show Seinfeld. Well, four, which is for educational purpose, is basically have the recaps, which are basically montages of the episode, have clips, which are basically, just a full scene of something from beginning to end without it being a montage or something. And then something else I want to do is like maybe breakdowns, like of the structure of the episodes, and like really break it down and go into it as an educational thing for free. And because I want to get into it myself, I think that would be interesting. So that's a goal I'm setting for the future. Another goal I have is, like, for example, changing this room as a studio setup a little bit more appropriate for a setup, where it looks really awesome in here. I got a microphone and it's just very, very professional and all that kind of thing. Now stick with me here. OKRs. Objective, key results. So I already went over that. When you find your what it is you want to do, like I already told you, my YouTube is what I want to do. And it's really, what's great about YouTube, it has a really good sense of metrics to look at what's going on and what you're doing wrong. I know what I'm doing wrong, but there's a part of me that's convinced that if I keep posting, then I'll gain back the momentum. So as an experiment, I'm going to keep doing my thing and just keep experimenting and posting. I know the retention rate has to be 70% plus, so I'm considering that, and all these things. So there's a lot that goes into it. I sometimes let that loose and let it go because I like to talk and tell stories and that, so I may make a long short that people just will not tune in. So keeping it short seems to be the advantage of like a 5-second clip to even a 2-second clip. A 2-second clip that has 100% retention rate will do way better than just posting 3-minute videos on interesting subject matter. So that's what I'm doing, is posting on interesting subject matters and going to podcasts and doing the vlogs. And it's very interesting conversations, but like at the end of the day, nobody cares because it's not entertaining, I guess, and nobody knows who I am. So it's not like I don't have people's attention. And, I'm not in a position where I can do a lot of edits and stuff. Or, one thing I'm going to look at is I already freed up a lot of space on my cell phone. I went into my cell phone, made that a goal to free up space so I can look at an app to improve some of the things that I'm doing. So I have things in mind that I want to do that I know that once I implement what I call in the down, I'm down right now, right? I went up about 26,000 views. That was my highest peak when the algorithms gave me a peak, and I ramped off. When I went back down, now I'm in this like down moment of like probably 4 or 5 days of just nothingness, desert bareness. I'm going to use that time to, like I said, organize everything I'm doing. And I'm taking advantage of this time to set some goals, to like these micro goals that are going to take me from A to Z. And that's what I'm hoping for. And there's a lot to manage as far as the micro goals, because I have YouTube. I want to do live. I want to hit like a couple live, like do the podcast and the vlog once a day, which is a lot, but I want to do it. And then I want to do the shorts consistently, but it's difficult because, like I said, I'm still experimenting and I don't know what really works and what doesn't. And some people say this works, and then when it doesn't work, you're like, huh, that's weird. So when you try your own thing, and when you try your own thing, you find out by trying your own thing, it does work. But anyways, another way to save a lot of time is by going straight to a mentor, for sure. And they'll give you a direction to how to get to your goal ultimately. And by having a certain concrete direction, you're going to feel very confident, very comfortable setting up goals that are going to be basically your connect the dots to your vision. And that's basically what it is. You're playing connect the dots with these large goals that you set year to year, right? These large, and the only way you can connect dot to dot is by making these other micro goals that get you to the big ones, right? And so this year, for example, my big goal was hitting 1,000 subscribers as a new YouTuber, like this year, basically. And so I'm at 750. And as I go up and down and fluctuate with views, and I'm understanding a little bit more about YouTube, like for example, it's like I said, it's important to have a time to reflect and a way to measure how you're doing. And that's why I really love YouTube. It has, the analytics is amazing. And like the further you get into it and the more you do it, the more it can compute more about what's going on. And like it tells you audience stay for this long. They leave exactly at this point. You're like, it tells you this week you've gained what, 30% stayed to watch, either 100% or 70% of the time, and then the other 70% swiped away. So that's something I need to work on. Like, what do I do to fix that? So by creating shorter shorts, now I'm just talking about how I'm getting to my goals and my bigger goal, right? But by creating shorter shorts, I'm increasing the chance of that retention rate being 100%. And that, if it's a really good video and gets liked a lot, it'll shoot right through the roof. And a lot of people make memes, for example, like short memes that seem to do really well. My brother started doing some, and that kind of got me thinking, like, yeah, that's a really good idea. I've been experimenting with other things, but YouTube is cracking down on this stuff, on faceless, redundant, mindless stuff that's just getting out there. It has no absolute value to anything. And I feel that I'm in danger of that. I mean, most certainly, I'm in danger of that, of being a new guy on the block, which makes you a competitor to everyone else. And you don't know that. As a new guy on the block, you don't know that there's competitors watching you and like watching your moves and seeing what you do. Like that. It's the Wild West. It kind of sucks, but that's part of the game, And so you play the game. And so, how much ambition do you have? How much ambition do you have? Plus, I mean, if you had ambition plus the passion plus the purpose, that is the math you need to create your success of reaching your dream, your vision. And you have to make it personal. And it's got to be, your objective has to be significant. It has to be not only significant but concrete, like a concrete solid plan. And it has to be a call to action, like an action-oriented thing where you're constantly working on it, and it has to be inspirational to everybody else. It has to meet these things that like make it incredible, and not just that, but when you're thinking about where you want to be, and you really think about the details and stuff, like what kind of house, what kind of car, what kind of job, and things like that, it's overwhelming. But that's why you break it down. And then you talk to people who have achieved those things, and they can certainly guide you to there. And all you have to do is figure out a plan with this mentor and figure out these bigger goals and these micro goals to get to the bigger ones. And you do it in stages, year by year. And lo and behold, you have gained some control over your life. And now you're sailing like a captain on a sailboat, of the life that you're living. And you're now exactly where you're going. You have a plan of action, a strategy to get there. And goals are the stepping stones, especially the micro ones. They get you there to where you want to be. It's like playing connect the dots. That's the best way to explain it. It's like playing connect the dots. But so what I was saying is, you break down the vision, essentially. You break down the vision into parts, into little parts and stages and stepping stones. And once you do that, you're able to just look back and go, okay, is this a solid plan? If it's solid, you're dealing with a concrete plan, then you're ready to really move forward, And sometimes you don't have to, like I did when I was, my goal was hit 1,000 subs. I didn't have a plan, a necessarily action plan of how to do it. I didn't go to a mentor. I just dove in and started posting stuff, live chats, live this, like constantly. It was mainly a process to become better, and it worked. I got out of my depression and all this other stuff. And like now that I'm on YouTube, I'm going back and I'm doing the whole thing about like, hey, okay, let's take this a little more seriously. I've been on here for some time, and like I really want to see how far I can take this. I know it's going to take a lot of doing, a lot of getting uncomfortable and doing some things that I may have never done before to figure this out. But I know for certainly I'm on the right step. I mean, I accomplished a few micro goals, which was organizing this, and my next goal for the day is to just keep posting some shorts, put out some more Seinfeld material, maybe put out a root amps, audio sample. I haven't done that in a minute. Just certain things that I try to pull out and require of myself to post. And posting about root amps is actually a requirement that I need to do every day, and pump that out, and just make little 2-second clips, something really quick. But an audio sample is tricky because you want them to stay to listen to it. So the key thing is, how do you make it interesting, as far as the YouTube thing goes. But I mean, that's pretty much it. And like, there's so many people people in business do this, that they use the OKR program, which is objective key results. So you exactly, you have an objective, you look at the key results, you measure it, and it's what you measure and learn is a very significant moment, because you're dealing with essentially a learning curve, I guess, if you will. So the more you do something, the more you experiment, the more, not even that, the more you just do something in general, the more it becomes easier, And so that's one thing that, you fail often. You go in and you set goals and you achieve them, but yet they don't get you where you want to go. You got to rethink the strategy, midway, a third of the way, whatever. You have to be adaptive and think about, what's not working. If it's not working, then, you're going to have to like basically put some thought into it, but that's okay. This is what it takes. This is the process. But like, but having those core components of, really being passionate about what you're doing, and then, you mix that in with ambition, and that's, you're unstoppable, because you're moving towards your purpose. When you make that purpose personal, you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to achieve it, because all you got to do is just keep moving and keep moving towards that goal and keep doing what you got to do. And you're going to feel very happy, fulfilled, and confident when you have set some goals and a plan of action through micro goals and large goals through the help of a mentor to get you where you want to be. It's a very fulfilling thing and a very exciting thing, because it's a big deal. You're putting a lot of effort into this, and when you accomplish something that you put a lot of effort in, it just puts you in a different place altogether. Like you're just riding a fire of winning, and when you win like that, when you win the goals, the micro goals, and then you win the big goal, then you do that cycle weekly, and you keep doing that, you're going to see some tremendous growth. I mean, tremendous growth, some real growth, and that's what I mean when I say in the cycle that keeps you going, because sometimes you're in the dumps. You can be completely in the dumps like I am right now, and it's one of those things where it's easy if you don't have something to help you stand on your 2 feet to get derailed. And the thing that's going to help you stay on your 2 feet and moving towards the goal is, like I said, is having a goal in the first place, a carrot stick, if you will, in front of you that keeps you moving forward. As long as you keep moving forward, and with, sometimes you go back a little bit, or sometimes you sidestep or go this direction, this other direction or you hit a wall. As long as you keep moving forward and you seem to really progress, because when you look back at the results, you're seeing tremendous or even small growth. And that's the proof. When you see proof in the numbers, so you see small growth and you say, okay, well, maybe if I do more of this, we'll see what happens. I predict this will happen. Then you see some more growth and you realize that the things you're doing are working. So if it's not working, you're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and test some things out, experiment, figure some stuff out. That's part of the game. And I'm already got me thinking. I'm already thinking about some of the next steps, some of the things I'm gonna do, because sometimes you hit a goal and you're like, okay, well, that didn't work out. And so you start to get in this position in life where you start thinking about, okay, let's switch it up, let's switch things up and switch up some goals and objectives and really think about how to get there. And I was a person who, I'm going to give you a life example of outside of the YouTube thing where I don't use objectives and I just kind of went with the flow. When I was in the band Root Amps, we didn't have objectives. We were just playing to have fun. And in a lot of ways, I'm on YouTube kind of having fun, but at least I have that one objective of hitting 1,000 subs, and considering that I'm at 750. I'm doing a good job, of really pushing it and figuring it out. I mean, considerably, it's not the best, right? I know it's not, but I don't want to fully commit to a one niche. But I will say this: setting my micro goals got me experimenting, right, with different things on the channel, which was great, right? Because I was able to advance, right? Even though it didn't seem like I was advancing on YouTube, I was advancing in terms of what I'm experimenting with. And I finally, when I started out with this whole thing, I was like, I don't know what my niche is. And I came to my passions, but essentially one niche that I found was doing an animation. And so, but I don't want to half-ass it. I don't want to rely solely on the AI here. I'm looking at a program that captures your motions into a character. And so I can literally play all the characters, do all the voices, have guests, people come in, and I can write out the show. And that's something that I seriously could commit to very easily. And I'm going to talk to my folks about that, because they can invest in this program and some other programs that would really be helpful. You know what I'm saying? That would be very helpful. So I'm looking into things because I see my numbers suffering. So that's in a lot of ways, my viewership down is another motivator for me. So that's like, you look for your motivation for things. And, for me, making money off YouTube is a big deal. Being able to connect with people is a big deal. Like being able to put my creativity out there and practice my creativity and just kind of slowly build an audience, that's pretty badass. Where else can you do that? I mean, sure, there's other platforms, but this is the most comfortable for me, the most comfortable. People seem to have it all figured out by getting advice from the masters. So my next step as far as recalculating how I approach YouTube is buying a book about being successful on YouTube, like how to go about it, like seriously read a book about it. And so maybe a couple of books back to back. And so those are new goals, and it's okay to set new goals while you're doing your main goal, because it's part of it's going to feed into the main goal. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to veer off a little bit and to add to the main goal. And so, I've switched goals here and there, but ultimately my ultimate goal is to exercise all of my talents, when I can. So that's why I'm always cycling through art, music, film, acting, because it's not a goal to be super famous or one thing. My goal is to just keep exercising my talents and stretching them. And, for a while it was my goal to break in as an actor, and I did a lot of things, but I didn't find the right people, the right situations. It just wasn't good. And I went to the stage. So you're always switching goals to get to what you want to get. Your vision might switch a little bit, perhaps, but that's okay, because you're truly finding your authentic self and what you're really passionate about. And it's a process. Sometimes you don't know what you're passionate about, and that's okay. You experiment, you keep trying new things until something hits. And when it hits just right, you're like, this is a thing that I can commit to real easily, and you find yourself obsessing over this and committing a lot of time, that's when you know that's your passion. That's when you know that's the thing you should be doing and pursuing, especially if it's giving you a lot of fulfillment and joy at the end of the day. If you're having fun, you're laughing and just making friends, and it's a good positive vibe. It's great. That's where you want to be with those kind of things. And then you add the mix of the ambition. Where do you want it? Where do you want to be? And how much do you really want it? That's something I didn't talk about. How much do you want it? So I did say by making it personal. When you make it personal, you're taking a step forward into finding a real purpose that's going to drive you forward as you make it very personal. And so take a minute. You find your passion, you find that out, you find it brings you joy. Now take a minute to really add fuel to get you to where you want to be by looking at your purpose. Like what is it exactly do you want to do with your passions? What do you want to accomplish out of life? You can do anything. Look at Bob Ross. He I don't know what his goal was, but I'm sure it has something to do with teaching his style of painting to the world and just kindness and stuff. And he was able to do that through a TV show and whatnot. He did it for a long time, and he was very successful at it. So you never know. Maybe that was his goal, was to be on TV and do his thing, and he did it through his artwork. So you never know. If your goal is to make it on television, maybe going about it through this way isn't the best way, or this way, there's a different way. So it's not completely impossible. It's just readjusting sometimes, readjusting the vision sometimes. Smoke break. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. You add those three elements: the ambition, the passion, and the purpose, and it's the perfect mathematical equation to get you some key measurable results that you can reflect on and be like, okay, what's going on here? And really, you shouldn't take it personal, but don't make it emotional. Take it personal, but don't make it emotional, and don't get out of control with your emotions. Like my views going down, that's personal. I make it personal because of how much it means to me for me to be successful on YouTube. It means a lot. It can be life-changing, So, and not just that, there's other things I just talked about, but I'm just saying there's a lot. So I make it personal. So I'm going to work harder to figure things out. I'm a lot more motivated to study more about this thing. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get a book here in a minute, Barnes and Noble, and just see if I can find something there. If I can't find something there, I'll go online and buy some books. I've already seen some experts talk about their books that they're selling, but I'm going to do a little research on like a few books and make that a goal. And because again, I'm repeating myself, but the importance of, if you're not getting there, if your goals that you set aren't working, then you need to set some new goals. And sometimes you need to adjust your thinking with new knowledge coming in. And you can only do that if you spend a little time with the book, reading about the field you're in and whatever you're in. So that's going to be key. I don't think a lot of people spend the time reading like books on YouTube and stuff. I mean, they could easily do it, but that's my next step. My next book I'm going to read. I'm going to do it today because I'm that motivated. I'm going to start reading it today. You know what I mean? Talk about motivation and ambition. How bad do I want this? What if the things I need to learn in the book are things that I just need to do little certain tweaks and the way I approach it and deliver content, and then boom, it explodes, And it's all about just whatever I can find, whatever gold nuggets I can find in the book, But that's the thing about really having quality goals. Not all goals are quality. Some goals are finicky, or they don't really get you anywhere, or they're just goals to make you feel better. But we're talking about real quality goals that move you ahead in your career or make your life or your abode. It just increases it to a better situation, or increases the amount of the types of food that you can afford to get, whatever. These are major things, major important quality goals. They're not just chasing a rabbit, that's going to get you nowhere because you want to. I think that's kind of toxic at the end of the day. If you don't have a real quality goal that you can measure real quality numbers from, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just not. You're just going to go in circles or stay dead. And and talk about being dead. I'm in the dead zone. I'm in the graveyard again. I'm in YouTube graveyard. And so, like I said, when you're doing your thing and it's personal, you're going to do whatever it takes to do whatever you need to do to reach your goals. And so I'm the fact that my views went down, and it just, it doesn't mean I quit. It doesn't mean I go, oh, that's it. No, it just means, okay, whatever I was doing wasn't working, and if I have to be honest, it's probably the Seinfeld stuff. It might be a major put off, or it's just the numbers. I'm not reaching the 70+% retention rate that I need to, and I can easily just change my strategy to make 2-second clips, 5-second clips of something that could easily bring value and something educational. Like, did you know, something like that, very quick, very easily. I can easily do it with the Seinfeld stuff because that's how I started it. I was like, did you know that this and so and so? And people really like that. But it's not that I got lazy. I got complacent because I was so busy with doing so many things. You get complacent doing certain things. You get kind of like to make it easier on yourself. So in a lot of ways, posting Seinfeld is kind of making it easier on myself to try to get, content out and views and stuff. But it's kind of a cop out. But in a lot of ways, like I said, I'm a newbie and I'm still figuring things out, and I'm still trying to reach my goals. So I'm going to try anything. And if it turns out that it's not the way to go, then it's not the way to go, and I'll learn. And so that's my next goal that I'm setting to myself is getting some books and really studying up. It could take a month, but I'm okay with that because I'm still in the experimental phase. So I have another month, another excuse to keep experimenting. And when things are down like this, I still have an excuse to keep going. My goals keep me going. So, boom, books. That's one goal. Boom, my schedule of putting out posts. Boom, keep doing it. So it keeps you going, and then you get into this flow and this cycle, and like it's a battle of winning some and losing some, but you're constantly learning, and that's the thing. You're in the battle. You're in the trenches. And don't take failure as the excuse to quit. It just means that you need to figure something out. It means you need to put a little more effort in a different direction that's going to lead you to a quality goal, like a very qualitative goal that's going to bring a lot of significance into your life. That's what I mean by quality goals, and not just quality, but concrete. Some goals are just kind of in the air because we want to get somewhere, but sometimes we have to do that because we're experimenting and we need to fail. But once you find a concrete plan and you have a concrete goal to get to your vision, it's a whole different thing. You start moving ahead in life, whether it's financial, whether it's your career, whether it's family, personal, whatever it is. Sometimes it can be as simple goal as introducing a new pet into your life, because I that's something I did. I went years without a dog or anything, and it was kind of miserable. It's really nice having a pet, so I made it a goal to get a dog, and it took months, and I finally found the right dog for me. Um, but always in action. You're always called to action with the goals, and that's the key. Is you're never sitting still. Things may be slow, things have failed, but the key is like you don't hold still. Sometimes you take a break, but even when you take a break, you might think about something might hit you, an idea, something, and you go into action. You go into action, and that's that you're back in the trenches, and so it's not over. It's not over. You're back. You're never. The only time it's over is when you totally quit and you just give it all up, and you let the momentum die off, and and it's just that's it. You're done. When you're done, and that's it. It's over. A lot of people say you can get back on YouTube and get the momentum, sure, but you've lost a lot of time, you know. And who knows? I'm probably losing a lot of time right now by doing something incorrectly. You know, if I can just figure it out. A lot of it is setting a proper schedule. That's the other goal. Is once I have everything organized, boom. That's a micro goal to get things, organized is key. I'm not even done with that. Getting the whole abode organized is the big major goal, and I'm just taking it by room, and it's actually very effective. It means I don't have to spend the whole entire day cleaning the whole house and racing the clock. No, I just do one room a day, and then I'm able to work everything else, and it's already changing everything. I mean, it's true. We had a conversation yesterday about how it lowers your anxiety and stress when your space is so organized. There's another, our last discussion was organization, and so that was part of my goals is to, and I'm still working it. I probably have another 3-4 days until I completely clean out every single room. And it's gonna feel really nice. Then I go in and organize. I get a good microphone for podcasting and all that stuff. That's the next set of goals I have. And so these are all quality goals because I'm adding value to what I'm already doing. I'm gonna try to keep this momentum going, even though the numbers are low and things are low. It's okay. It's okay. I think there's still momentum there. There is. It's gonna spinball a little bit, but that's why you do the cycle. You stick to the cycle of implementing quality goals, going into action, going after until you accomplish it. Boom. That's what moves you forward. And setting new goals. That's the cycle I talk about. Because whatever happens, you can have lots of downs in your life. As long as you have that cycle in place, it's going to keep moving you forward, and you're going to realize, oh, I got out of that crummy down situation because I've completed a very intense, a quality goal. It's very what do you call it? It's I'm losing the words. It's significant. It's very significant. It's not just a small thing. That's pretty much. I think I went over everything. I mean, I can go quickly over the key components of what I talked about, and so that I can wrap it up. But essentially, the key components are, it's the what, right? Your objective, and then the how, and those are the you get your key results from the how, and so implementing the OKR method is what a lot of people do to be successful, and that's what I mean by the cycle. They're constantly doing cycles of goal setting, accomplishing goals, goal setting, accomplishing goals, and so on and so forth. They're never holding still. That's what kills your momentum. That's what's going to kill everything. But and then the other part I talked about that I'll summarize here is, and this is part of the hot tip, is you do a little math. You add your ambition, you add your passion, you add your purpose. You add those three things. That's the math I'm talking about. Those three things, you add them together, and like I said, you make your purpose, make it personal, to really heat up the purpose, and there's your secret sauce to getting what you want. And sometimes, like, there's things we may want in life, but, like, do we really want them? Like, ask yourself. That's what I mean by finding the things you're really passionate about. Like, for instance, it makes sense for me as a musician to have a passion for music, to be like, well, it'd be badass to get signed to a label. That's a goal I have, but it's not an immediate goal that I'm working on because it's so down the road. I have these goals that are closer to reality to help me get to that vision. I was performing years ago. I was in a band. I came very close to signing to a label, but the band broke up and we never put out any content. All we did was play a lot. We barely had recordings, and we had one studio recording here local, but we never did anything major, a major single or anything like that. We didn't tour out of the state. I mean, we went to Oklahoma City, and that was one of our biggest shows, and Center of Universe in Tulsa. We played with Broncho. That was our biggest show too. But now, I'm on the trail of getting back to it, but it's difficult because there's a lot of juggling. And the thing is, one of the things that can derail you from reaching your goals is juggling too much. It slows you down. It's actually better to just put things aside, like I'm doing, and focus on one goal, singular goal, and achieving that goal. And that's what's going to move you quicker. It's not juggling a lot. It's singular movements, singular points. Play connect the dots with all your goals, but singular points. Always moving towards one goal at a time. Never trying to do multiple at once. Never, never. It'll slow you down. You'll spend years juggling and realizing, man, this is so slow. Because I've done that. Making a film, I juggled making a film for 15 years because I wasn't aware of this OKR program, the objective key results. I was just figuring things out as I went, and so I mean I knew I wanted to make a movie, but I didn't have a real mentor show me everything exactly, and I kind of wanted to figure it out on my own. And I was really the one behind everything and keeping everything in momentum. And partnering up with Bob was a big deal because he helped out a lot, big time. And so, you know, so I did accomplish. I made my movie. It's out this year. I've shown it in theaters. That became a goal after I finished the movie, and I've done festivals. So that was a big. Those are big goals, And but they're not necessarily quality goals. They're not moving my career forward necessarily. That's what I mean by there's different goals. There's like fluff goals and quality goals. And a lot of those goals are kind of fluff. If there's not a real, like I was saying, there's not significance behind it. Yes, it's personal, significant to me, screening my movie in a one theater in front of people to show it. But is it really a quality goal? And did it move me anywhere? Did it move the needle anywhere? I mean, not necessarily. No. If anything, it just either one, people either got put off because it wasn't the best they thought it was going to be, or they really it was. I got a lot of mix. I got the people really liked it, or the people didn't like it. It was like a mix. So I don't know. And the thing is, when you're an artist, when you're done, you're done. That's it. The project's done. You're not gonna do anything to fix it. But 15 years of goal setting, accomplishing the goals. But it's like I said, it took longer because I was juggling college, TCC, juggling work, and all this other stuff. So it just makes it 10 times harder when you have to juggle the default life is what I call it. It's just there's so many responsibilities and things that just got in the way of things, like so many things that just got in the way of things of trying to get these goals done. And so you hit walls, it eats up your time, but you just figure out a way around. And that's okay. You set these other micro goals to reposition yourself again, and you connect the dots from one goal to the next until you reach your big goal that's going to really push you forward. And that's what I mean by a quality goal, a big quality goal. 15 years making a movie is not easy, my friends. It's not. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication in between everything else. But that's how I did it, was this sticking to the cycle. But now that I'm older and I'm choosing YouTube as my main focus, I'm trying to implement these goals. And I talked about my next goals, my next few steps that I've adapted into the play, right? Because it feels like YouTube, it feels like, if I'm going to use a metaphor, it's like being in a game of basketball. Every day is a new day to be out on court, and there's different strategies and plans you're implementing to see what works, what doesn't. You're constantly in the game. So now I'm implementing a new thing, which is studying books. I'm going to be reading books on YouTube and how to be really successful and really take it that serious and I'm, like I said, I'm going today to get those books because that's what it means to be highly motivated. My reason of why is what's motivating me to go after this podcast is done. After this is done, I'm going literally straight to Barnes and Noble to look for a book on YouTube, and if I can't find it there, I'll go online and order it. But I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. No, you got to be motivated. You can't be, oh, I'm going to wait till tomorrow, or oh, wait, no. The quicker you get through your micro goals, the quicker you see movement in your life. You know what I'm saying? It's that look at it like that. How fast do you really want to move through life and your careers and stuff and whatever you want to be, or do you want to take it really slow? That's up to you. I've taken it slow for a long time. I'm ready to speed things up. Like I'm ready to just go straight to the source and just like read what I can and just then there's a moment of like implementing what I learned, right? You can't just straight up have knowledge. You gotta implement what you learn into action. And so going into action is it. Going into action, constantly being in action is it, and not being derailed and distracted by other stuff. You stay on course the whole day, working on one singular objective. You're gonna, without any distractions, without, oh, I got to go do this for a few hours or I'm going to go hang out. No, no. You spend the whole day singular focus all the way through, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You're gonna move quick. You do that repeatedly, week by week. A month later of singular focus on one thing, 1 month, you're gonna move way quick, way ahead, quicker than anybody around you, because everybody's on the same boat. Everybody's juggling things. They're trying to focus on things, and maybe they don't have major goals. If you don't set a major goal, you're not going to be chasing after it. And if you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to be chasing after it. If you don't have the right personal, purpose to it, you're not going to be motivated to get off your ass. That's just the way it works, you know. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's helpful, and I hope you look at my other discussions. If you like what I'm saying, check out the other discussions in the podcast, because there's a lot of gold nuggets in there. I apply everything I read and learn to what I'm doing, and in a lot of senses, they say when you're teaching somebody else, you're kind of relearning it yourself in a lot of ways. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Is I'm just kind of putting out there what I'm learning to help me solidify what I've learned. But yeah, I'm getting close. I'm getting close to my big major goal of hitting 1,000 subs this year. I'm not going to let off the gas. I'm certainly not going to let off the gas. And if it's not working out, then I just make the adjustments to make it work. And that's all there is to it. There is no, oh, it's too hard. Oh, I don't have this. Or, oh, no, figure it out. There's that famous, what's his name, the millionaire dad or whatever. He's always saying the same thing. Use the stuff between your ears. Use the stuff between your ears. Your brain. Use your brain. And that's really key. You got to allow yourself to have moments of, oh, I have a brilliant idea, or oh, I didn't think of that, or oh, it just hit me. By just allowing your ideas to be free. Like, don't hold yourself back from crazy ideas, because you never know when the right idea is going to hit. You're going to be like, oh. And the thing is, if you get a brilliant idea and you don't act on it immediately, you're gonna lose it. You're gonna let it go, and it'll just fly off to some other person who can contain that idea and actually go to action. And that's what I mean by being in the cycle. You're constantly in action. You hit one goal, you get new goals in place. You're never holding still, and you don't want to be holding still. You don't want to be holding still, because you're gonna start to feel depressed and unfulfilled, and maybe you start to worry about why life isn't going anywhere and what's going on with that. It's because it takes work, it takes effort, but you're not going to waste your work and effort into something you don't know it's going to work out. As simple as that. So that's why when you have a vision, do a triple checkup of how to get there. Talk to the people who've done it before you. Find out who's done it. Talk to them, spend time with them, and go like, hey, like, I'd like to get to know you. I'm sorry if that seems weird, but like, I'm interested in what you're doing, your career path. I'm very passionate about the same thing. And they say, it's good to be around people who have like minds, and so, and you spark a friendship, you spark a connection with people that are doing the same thing, but not just the same thing, but are actually doing it successfully. That's the key. You don't want to get advice from people that are not doing it successfully. You don't want to be the person who's, as I'm saying, get advice from people who have done it, and are using the methods to actually get ahead in life. And I can tell you right now, making a movie 15 years is not an easy cakewalk. It took a lot of goals, a lot of planning, a lot of strategy, and I'm not a person with a lot of money, so I can't just pay people to do things. A lot of it was, sometimes I scratch your back, you scratch mine. A lot of it was doing it myself. A lot of it was just really motivating people to do it and being like a real cheerleader for the whole project. There's just different things you can do. You can rely on friends when you really need the help. Sometimes it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be upfront, be like, I don't have the money to pay you. Like, Are you still interested? And sometimes people say no. That's okay. You keep going, and you find the person that'll say yes. Right? You find the right person for the job, for the thing you want to. You collaborate. You figure out a way to win-win, and that's what you do. You figure out a win-win with people. If you don't have the money for it, just figure out a win-win, a business situation, a deal, no matter how weird it is. People are open to deals. You just got to convince them of something they want, something that's going to help them. And there's nothing nefarious about that. If you get what you want, and you are getting something the other person wants, there's nothing nefarious about that. It's a business deal. And the number one rule in business sales and all that is there's no such thing as a set price. It's all arbitrary. A store manager, somebody will set a price, but you are allowed to go to a manager and be like, hey, I only have, your price says 425, but I only have 300. We take the deal. And some people might laugh at your face. Some people might say, yeah, sure, I'll take the deal. We want to get rid of this for months. You go to a pawn shop, there's been something sitting there for months and months and months. They want to get rid of it. You make them a deal. They're all about deals. Pawn shops are all about deals. But you can still, like I said, sometimes you might find a manager who's just trying to get rid of something at a store, and he's like, you make them a deal, they'll say yes, because they know they'll make money off that deal versus an item that's just going to sit there for months and months and months and doesn't go anywhere. They can't even sell it. That's a loss to them. They would rather make a deal than get an absolute loss. So think about that. In business isn't always absolute. You just got to figure out how to do a win-win with people, and just understand that everyone's trying to do their best and try to win as well. It's not, so you collaborate to win. That's another thing I talked about is the community. So if you check in my podcast, if you have your goals and you have a community around you to support you, you're most likely going to hit your goals, especially the big ones, because the big ones take time. You got to hit your micro goals to hit your big goals, So it takes time and effort and energy and sacrifices and failures, and sometimes even being ridiculed. It takes all of that. You got to get through all of that garbage to get to where you want, and you got to be singularly focused. It's almost like a test. You're singularly focused on one thing, and life's going to test you and be like, oh, this is on fire, oh, or this or what. Did you so much gossip or so much this, so much, oh, we got to take care of emergencies. Emergencies, you got to take care of emergencies. There's nothing you can do. There's days where I got to take my mom to the hospital. She's got some high pressure issues. And for instance, today I do everything I can to help her out. I spend time with her. We got a pool here that I built her for her to enjoy. And her pressure goes down when she does it. And it takes time, but it's things that you have to do. And so that happens. That's going to happen. It's going to eat up your time. So that's why it's so important to not waste time, to not focused on your goals, because then you're doing what? You're losing very precious time, because you never know when there's going to be an emergency, or when you got to do this, when you got to do that. The responsibilities that you got to do are going to pop up no matter what through the default life. It's just always going to happen. There's never going to be a moment when everything is the only time it's is when you're on top of it and taking care of business. And the only way you can reach your goals is by making sure your default life is at bay. You check that shit. Your laundry is done. Your food for the week is done. All your stuff is organized, cleaned. That stuff is when it's. I talk about this in my other section of the podcast, organization. How it lowers stress, anxiety. How you don't have to worry about missing things and spend hours looking for things. That's precious time you're losing that you could be focused on your goals. 2 hours. I'm just throwing an example. That's what I'm saying. It's so precious. And when you have things, when you realize how precious it is and how it can affect you positively to have an organized space, it gives you more time to focus on your goals. And that's beautiful. That's one thing you can do yourself in your own life that you can switch up. And, and it'll feel like you're moving forward. When your space is clean, when you're on top of your business, your default life business, you feel like you're on another level. It just, I don't know what it feels. Just the confidence comes in, the self-esteem comes in. You're getting SIHIT done. I'm trying to cuss, because I want to get monetized. And I don't know. Some people are monetized cuss. I don't know how they do it, but they're pretty strict about that. I'm pretty sure they're strict about that. But anyways, like what I'm saying is, everything counts when you break it down, when you look at the details of things, when you really think about it. Organization, community, that attitude that you need of never quitting. That attitude will get you through the cycle when it gets hard. And the cycle I talk about is setting goals and accomplishing it. That's one cycle, right? And a major cycle would be hitting all your micro goals, right? You're hitting them until you reach your big goal, and that's a huge cycle, right? And it takes time. Depending on where you want to be, where you want to go, those micro goals could take weeks at a time until you reach your major goal of whatever. It could take months. It could take 3 4 months. For Stray Kids, the whole movie itself, it had phases. I broke it down: phase one, phase two, phase three, phase four. It was I can't even remember. I gotta look at this. It was part of it was pre-production. That was like phase one. Phase two was production. Phase three was post, and then phase four is exhibition, which is a lot of times a lot of filmmakers fall short with that because it's very difficult to get your movie out there. It's getting easier with things like Film Hub and film festivals and things like that. But now the competition is a lot more fierce. So it's not only, oh, you made a movie, but you made a movie compared to everyone else who's making movies too. So there's a lot of competition, but there's still a lot of space. There's still a lot of demand for content, believe it or not, which is amazing to me how demanding it is. Um, but we're coming up to an hour, so I'm going to keep this to an hour. But let's just go over the key components here: your goals, how you figure out your what, get your objective, you figure out your how, and those are you get your key results from your how, your measurable key results, and they call that the OKR way of doing things. It's OKR, objective key results. I mean, these are things that major businesses use to get things done. Big academic colleges, whatever you name it, they use the OKR way of doing things. But essentially, when you have your what and your how, you fill in your why, your purpose. You figure out, you make your purpose very personal, very. You find out, like for example, there's a story of a woman who was dedicating her life to a certain type of business because she had a brother suffering for a certain disease, and that business would actually help her brother out, like directly. It was like something to do with a certain illness, and she got into this study that was helping, and it just had to be turned to a business, and she stepped up and was highly motivated to get to the finish line because of her brother. She wanted her brother to be well and better, and she talks about how it's completely turned around her life. And it was, you know how you turn your life around is keeping to a cycle, the cycle of setting goals, accomplishing them, setting goals, accomplishing it, having a really clear direction too. It's not just setting goals; it's setting quality goals that lead, that for certain that your actions are going to lead you to your vision, and you can only know for certain if you tap into the people who've already done it. That's how you know for certain. That way, you're just not putting goals that you think might get you there. No, you're setting goals that are concrete. You want to build a concrete bridge with concrete columns. You can only do that with concrete information from people who have absolutely 100% proven that they have done it, and they can tell you how they've done it. Never take advice from people that are not successful in that field, because they're just throwing you ideas, and that's not concrete. So that's really the hot tip, is make sure that you set a quality goal. That's what makes it quality is the significance of it and how much value it brings to you, by accomplishing that goal. And that's pretty much it. I think that went over everything. You know, yeah, that's pretty much everything to talk about. The last thing to say is, you know, if you have a big vision, you know, if it's a huge vision, and it's okay to dream big. You know, don't limit yourself. Don't seriously don't limit yourself. What you do is you take a huge vision, whatever it is, and you break it down into parts, like how you do with your goals. So if you have an enormous vision, you break down your vision into parts, and then you set, like, you play connect the dots with micro goals that lead up to big goals that accomplish part of that vision, and then you repeat that process over. It could take you a year or two, but you repeat that process, and it moves you closer and closer to the overall big vision that you have. You know, so it's not just, oh, goals. You know, yeah, you can be as loosey goosey as you get in a piece of paper and just writing some basic stuff, right? Oh, groceries, laundry, that. But that's just default life. That's not quality goals. That's just default stuff that you got to get done. That's just checklist stuff. That's not quality stuff that's going to move you ahead in life. Yes, organizing your life and keeping your life organized is the maintenance that is required to be able to have time and the liberation to dive into your passion in the first place. Or else, if you can't have your default life in check, then you're not going to be able to move ahead in the first place. So to move ahead in the first place, default life has to be checked, you know, organized, caught up with bills. It just, unfortunately, it's just how it is. Otherwise, you're always going to have problems. You're always going to have, I'm behind my bills. I can't do this. The car broke down. Oh, this. No, maintenance. Take your car to get oil changed. Do maintenance. It's much better to do maintenance, spending time to do the maintenance. Set it as little micro goals than having to fix major problems that are going to eat up all your time and your finances and take you further away from your actual goal and vision and where you want to be in life. So look through my podcast. You might find it very interesting and very helpful. The whole thing is to just be a high achieving person, and these are all the qualities I talk about that you need to be a very high achieving person. All right, people, it's been 1 hour. I really appreciate you tuning in. My name is Lasso, and Lasso's Passions is my channel. I'm a newbie here at YouTube. I'm 38 years old, so I have a little bit of wisdom. I've been in the film industry for 5 years. I went to college, TCC, TU, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. If you like what I had to say, give me a like and sub and all that good stuff. It helps my channel and all that. So appreciate you. Until maybe tomorrow. Yeah, could be tomorrow. I'll do the next one. Kind of figuring out a schedule, but yeah, I think tomorrow we'll do another one. We'll figure out as the themes just kind of come to me, you know. So yeah, thanks, folks. See you next time. Ooh, ooh, ooh.